In a world where we rush through life, juggling schedules and relying on fast food for convenience, there exists a community that thrives on simplicity and tradition. Imagine waking up not to the jarring buzz of an alarm, but to the quiet call of nature, the chirping of birds, the soft rustling of the wind through endless cornfields. While most of us grab bread off supermarket shelves, wrapped in plastic, the Amish create their bread by hand, using tools and methods that have remained unchanged for generations. Here, in the heart of rural America, bread making isn't just a task, it's a ritual. From grinding wheat with manual mills to kneading dough with wooden tools, every step reflects patience, care, and a deep connection to their way of life. This isn't about convenience, it's about honoring the past and living in harmony with nature. Today, we'll take you inside the Amish kitchen to explore how they make their iconic white bread. Simple, wholesome, and steeped in tradition. It's more than a recipe, it's a window into a world where values and craftsmanship shape even the most basic of daily tasks. In Amish homes, bread is more than just a staple. It's the heart of every meal, woven deeply into the fabric of their daily life. Bread is often the first thing served at a meal, and it's always fresh, warm from the oven, with a golden crust that cracks open to reveal the soft, pillowy interior. The smell of bread baking fills the air, weaving through the house and creating a sense of comfort and togetherness. It's a scent that immediately evokes feelings of warmth, care, and home. For the Amish, bread isn't just a food item. It's an expression of their values. The act of baking bread by hand, from grinding wheat to kneading dough, is a way to honor the time, effort, and simple pleasures of life. Each loaf carries the imprint of the hands that shaped it, a reminder of the connection between the earth, the food they consume, and the people they share it with. Families often gather around the table, breaking bread together and sharing not only the meal, but also stories, laughter, and support. It's a quiet time of bonding where the busyness of life is set aside and the focus is solely on each other and the nourishment provided by the land. Bread making is also a communal activity in Amish culture. When families come together for larger gatherings, like barn raisings or weddings, the process of baking bread becomes a shared effort, with multiple generations working side by side. In this way, bread becomes a symbol of the community. Just as it nourishes the body, it nourishes the spirit of togetherness. The bread they create in these moments isn't just to fill the stomach, but to create memories, to pass down traditions, and to reinforce their strong sense of belonging to each other. Whether it's a simple dinner or a festive gathering, bread in Amish households reflects much more than the act of sustenance. It's a manifestation of their faith, their love for family, and their commitment to living a life of simplicity and humility. The bread they bake may be humble in its ingredients, but it carries within it the richness of Amish values. In Amish kitchens, the rhythmic sound of wooden spoons stirring dough and the subtle scrape of metal against flour-dusted surfaces are a far cry from the hum of modern electric mixers or the beep of a microwave. The Amish have a deep-rooted commitment to using manual tools, keeping their traditions alive in the face of an ever-evolving world. They believe that working with their hands and honoring the natural process brings them closer to the earth, their faith, and the values of simplicity they hold dear. One of the first steps in the bread-making process is the grinding of wheat. Instead of using electric grinders, the Amish prefer manual grain mills operated by hand to grind the wheat into fine flour. The process itself requires time and patience, but the reward is a flour with a richness and texture that's unparalleled. As the millstone grinds the wheat, the faint sound of the gears turning fills the air, and the flour slowly emerges, powdery and soft, ready to become part of the dough. Kneading the dough is another integral part of the bread-making process, one that the Amish approach with care and attention. Using a traditional wooden dough kneader, the Amish fold, stretch, and turn the dough by hand, carefully working it to the perfect consistency. The feeling of the dough is crucial. Smooth yet slightly sticky, with just the right amount of elasticity. This process may take more time and effort than using an electric mixer. but it connects them to the bread in a way that technology cannot replicate. The sound of the wooden kneader scraping across the bowl, the gentle thud of hands pressing and turning the dough, these are the simple yet meaningful sounds that fill Amish kitchens. When it comes to baking, the Amish avoid electric ovens, preferring instead to use wood-fired stoves or propane ovens. There's a special satisfaction in watching the flames lick the sides of the oven, knowing that the fire is part of the process, just as much as the dough and the ingredients. The heat from the fire infuses the bread with a distinct flavor, adding a smoky undertone that electric ovens simply cannot achieve. As the bread rises in the oven, the warm, golden aroma fills the air, making the waiting worth every second. The smell of fresh bread baking in a wood-fired oven is rich, earthy, and inviting, a comforting scent that takes over the entire home, making it feel like a safe haven. By using these traditional tools and methods, the Amish are not simply avoiding modern technology. They are ensuring that their bread-making process remains deeply connected to their history, their community, and their values. The time it takes to prepare bread this way isn't seen as a burden. Instead, it's viewed as an opportunity to reflect, to honor tradition, and to invest in a process that results in a product that is both nourishing and spiritually fulfilling. For the Amish, these tools and methods are more than just instruments. They are symbols of a way of life that values patience, simplicity, and deep connection to the land. For the Amish, the sourdough starter is more than just a way to leaven bread. It's a living, breathing connection to their ancestors, a piece of history passed down through generations. Each Amish household keeps a starter, often handed down from a mother or grandmother who may have inherited it from her own family, stretching back for decades. Starter becomes a family heirloom, nurtured with care and love, ensuring that every loaf of bread carries the essence of the past while nourishing the present. The process of creating a sourdough starter is simple yet profound. Flour and water are mixed together, and over time, wild yeast and bacteria in the air begin to work their magic. Unlike commercial yeast, which is quick and predictable, the natural yeast in the sourdough starter grows slowly, fermenting and developing depth and complexity. This slow fermentation process mirrors the Amish way of life, steady, unhurried, and deeply connected to the rhythms of nature. As the starter bubbles and matures, it fills the kitchen with a faint, tangy scent, a reminder of the patience and care required to maintain it. Maintaining the starter is an ongoing process. Every few days, the Amish will feed the starter with more flour and water, keeping it alive and healthy. This ritual is a quiet, sacred part of daily life. It requires attention and respect, as neglecting the starter could lead to its ruin. Just as with the bread it helps create, the sourdough starter is nurtured with love and intention, making it an essential part of the Amish food culture. The emotional and cultural significance of the starter cannot be overstated. For Amish families, it represents more than just the continuity of their bread-making tradition. It symbolizes their ties to the land, to their community, and to their faith. Each time a loaf of bread is pulled from the oven, it's a reminder of the generations before them, their values, and their commitment to living a simple, purposeful life. In the Amish world, the sourdough starter is not just a means to an end. It's a living legacy that continues to enrich their lives with every batch of bread they bake. In the Amish community, bread making is not just an isolated task. It's a deeply communal event. When the time comes to bake bread, families come together in a tradition that stretches back generations, where the labor is shared and the bonds of kinship are strengthened. The air is filled with the warmth of the oven, the scent of fresh dough, and the sounds of laughter and conversation. Gathered around these communal baking days are a reflection of the Amish commitment to unity and support, turning what could be an individual chore into a celebration of togetherness. As the sun rises, families gather at one home, bringing their ingredients, dough, and tools. The kitchen quickly becomes a hive of activity, with everyone pitching in to help. Women knead dough, their hands moving rhythmically, working together in perfect harmony. The men often take charge of the heavier tasks, such as hauling firewood for the wood-burning oven or making sure the temperature is just right. Children, too, have their roles, fetching water, setting the tables, or helping to shape the loaves. The process is a dance of cooperation. There is no rush. Everything is done with care and patience. The sound of the dough being worked by hand, the rhythmic thumping as it's punched down, and the smell of the rising bread create a sense of peace and connection. Each loaf, carefully shaped and placed in the oven, represents not just the effort of one individual, but the collective work of a whole community. While the bread bakes, the Amish share stories, catch up on each other's lives, and offer support. This is a time for conversation, for strengthening friendships, and for building relationships. It's a time when everyone's presence matters, and each person contributes in their own unique way. The conversations might revolve around the crops, the children, or the challenges of daily life. But no matter the topic, it's the act of coming together that matters most. As the bread starts to emerge from the oven, golden brown and steaming, there's a shared sense of accomplishment. The loaves are often stacked on the wooden counters, ready to be distributed among the families. The group will sit down to enjoy a meal together, breaking bread and sharing in the bounty they've created. The bread, now soft and warm, is passed around, each person tearing off a piece and savoring the fruit of their labor. These communal bread-making events are more than just about food. They're about creating a sense of belonging, about sharing the work and the rewards. They are a reflection of the Amish way of life, slow, deliberate, and rich with meaning. In the simplicity of the act, there is profound connection. It's a reminder that in the Amish community, no one is ever truly alone. Every loaf of bread baked together is a symbol of their collective spirit, their shared labor, and their unwavering commitment to each other. For the Amish, bread making is not just a daily ritual. It's a celebration of the seasons and the natural bounty each one brings. The ingredients used in their bread recipes change throughout the year, reflecting the cycle of the seasons and the abundance of the land. Each loaf of bread tells the story of the time and place it was made, with seasonal variations adding a rich depth of flavor and meaning to the humble loaf. In the spring, when the earth begins to thaw and fresh crops are planted, the Amish may use freshly ground wheat from the previous harvest, its nutty flavor rich and earthy. The bread at this time of year is often lighter, made with simple ingredients like flour, water, and a touch of honey or molasses, which is often homemade. This is a time when the air is fresh and the garden begins to bloom, and the bread reflects that sense of renewal and simplicity. As the summer months roll in, the bread recipes evolve to incorporate the abundance of the season. Herbs like basil, rosemary, and thyme find their way into the dough, infusing it with the fragrant flavors of the garden. Fresh fruits like strawberries or peaches may also make their way into the bread, creating a subtle sweetness that's perfect for warm summer mornings. The bread is often denser, perfect for pairing with homemade jams and fresh butter, bringing the flavors of the season to the table. When autumn arrives, the Amish harvest their crops and the bread takes on a heartier tone. The bread made during this time might include grains like oats or barley, giving it a more substantial, chewy texture. In some communities, the use of pumpkins or squash is common, adding both flavor and richness to the bread. The spices of fall, cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves, are woven into the dough, filling the home with a warm, comforting scent that's synonymous with the harvest season. As winter settles in, the bread becomes a symbol of warmth and sustenance. The recipes often include hearty whole grains, and the loaves are thicker, perfect for long, cold nights. The focus shifts to preserving the essence of the harvest, with ingredients like dried fruits, nuts, and seeds making their way into the bread, offering nourishment and comfort during the colder months. Now, through these seasonal variations, bread making becomes a reflection of the Amish connection to the land and the rhythms of nature. Each loaf, crafted with fresh, seasonal ingredients, serves as a reminder of the changing world around them and the timeless traditions that keep them grounded. The Amish bread-making process is not just about creating food. It reflects core values that shape their way of life. Patience is key. Each step is done with care, allowing the dough to rise naturally, slowly, without rush. Humility comes through in their dedication to using simple, traditional methods, with no need for modern tools or shortcuts. Family involvement is at the heart of it all. Everyone, from the youngest child to the oldest grandparent, plays a role. This shared effort highlights the Amish commitment to unity, humility, and the importance of working together for a common goal.